AskReddit by Georgia Collison. Those of you who swore when I grow up and have kids, I'll be nothing like my parents, how did that work out for you? Well, as someone who learned young not to go to my parents for anything because they never took my side, I stayed true to that promise. No matter what bad things happened to me, it was always my own fault. My kids are adults now. They've always come to me with problems. I made it a point to treat them as individuals when they were kids. Not my property or things that had to obey or else. Was I disappointed when boy got shit-faced at 16? Kinda. But then I remembered what I was doing at that age. Went and picked him up and let the hangover be his punishment, so glad he didn't try to stagger home at 2 AM like I felt I had to. Coming from a young adult whose parents still treats them like your parents did, thank you, and I hope to be the type of parent you are. I ended up going too far in not wanting to be my parents, who were emotionally neglectful, physically abusive and too strict, that I still kinda became my parents in a way. I never said no to my child, gave him few boundaries, always put his feelings and wants and interests first, and did everything for him out of fear of him ending up with the same struggles in adulthood as I did, out of fear of him feeling what I felt. As a result, my son grew up developing a whole different set of issues, even though I thought I did everything right. Because at least I wasn't my parents. I needed, and still need, lots of therapy to handle my own demons first. To educate myself on how the human mind works and how generational trauma works. I had to relearn how to raise a child in a healthy, balanced way. It was extremely hard to admit to myself I was failing as a parent and ask for help for. I totally agree. Parenting has made me seek out therapy to deal with my own issues and not pass them on directly or indirectly. Trying not to sound condescending at all, well done for doing your best, it's all we can do. Amazing. I have a fantastic relationship with all my kids. I've never used violence as a punishment, I've never belittled them or made them feel small. Now I've got polite, friendly children who are loved by all they meet. It's not difficult to raise a child with love and kindness, it's mad, the massive difference between my childhood and my kids. I was hit by a car at 7 years old, and yes, it was my own fault, but I wouldn't dream of leaving a 7-year-old unattended, let alone letting them wander the streets until dark. I swore many times during childhood I would not treat my kids how I was treated. I also got my mom's wish that I have a kid exactly like me so I would know how she felt. As you say, raising kids with love, kindness, and acceptance is the way to go. My kids are good people, and we have a good relationship. It is crazy the difference between how they grew up and how I grew up. Turns out, I'm my parents 2.0 now with added features. I find myself using phrases I swore I'd never say, and I've developed a strange fascination with thermostats. Who knew that "don't touch the thermostat" would be my catchphrase? Unless you are wearing socks, a sweater, a hat, gloves, and a jacket, don't touch the thermostat. Deleted. Not the worst qualities to take from them. My mom often told me that she didn't want to be like grandma, and she turned out to be cruel, abusive, manipulative mom exactly like grandma. I also don't want to be cruel, abusive, manipulative mom like my mom, so I don't have kid. Better end this cycle of abuse with me. Same here. Because even if I did everything the opposite of my parents, that doesn't mean it'll be good parenting. Do I even know what good parenting is like, when I grew up like I did? I don't know. So it's better if I remain childless. I apologize freely to my child when I get it wrong. We always have McDonald's money, he has lots of lovely days out, and he's completely loved and adored. I hope he thinks I'm doing a good job. Kinda ted up at this, good job, those small things make such an impact on a kid. Pretty damn well. Of course, the damn bar was on the floor. I laughed at this, thanks you go dude. It's hard. Breaking generational trauma is difficult. But I've put in a lot of work and went to therapy. I think I'm doing pretty good at being a different kind of parent. Yes. Sometimes I find myself struggling and kind of realize that this is probably how my mom felt. But other times, I'll be in a situation and I'll sort of analyze how my mom would have handled it, and I'd get mad at her all over again. I grew up with 2 narcissistic screamers. I am still tormented by my memories. I swore never to be like that. And I'm not. My daughter, 10, and I never yell. We are close and respect one another. She is always complimented on her empathy by teachers and is at the top of her class. It works. Family curses can be reversed. Congrats. Fantastic. Tubal ligation. AI, bisalp. So far so good. If I'm wrong, I admit it. If I did something that negatively affected my kids, I apologize. I don't give my kids the silent treatment if I'm mad or upset. I talk with them to go over how we view the situation and what we need to do to fix the issue. I'm interested in my kids and their passions. I don't use that to tease them about it. I support them in the ways they need for their hobbies. It's been a very active process to break the generational trauma and make sure they don't experience my childhood. Not perfect, but at least I have a good relationship with my kids. Unlike my parents who are in a need-to-know basis and get general updates on my life. I am starting year 2 of the silent treatment from my father. He will never admit fault or make an effort at relationship repair. Just anxiously waits for someone else to do all the work. I am finally starting to be fine with it just staying that way, silent. I did a lot of things the exact opposite of my parents when I had my daughter. To this day, my mother asks me why she and Amp, I aren't as close as my daughter and Amp. Well, let's see, maybe because I don't harbor a grudge for everything my child does differently than I do. She goes her own way and is a fully functioning adult, so I am proud of her rather than point out what she is doing wrong. OMG. If you don't do it the exact same way I do, it is because you think I am stupid. I don't smoke at all with my kids in the car. I don't keep my kids up till 1 AM to drive home drunk, and I support their education and encourage them instead of ignoring them. I'm doing much better than my parents. It's like I downloaded a parenting app directly from my mom and dad's brains. I've caught myself saying because I'm your mother, that's why more times than I can count. And guess what? My living room is now no food zone. History repeats itself, but with more Wi-Fi. It's amazing how much more sense no food isn't the living room or bedroom makes when you are the one lugging out the floor scrubber to clean it. Or paying for a new rug. My mother wouldn't get me braces for my horrible crooked teeth. My kid has braces now. My mother refused to let me get my license. My kid will have it the day he turns 16. Anytime I was excited about an accomplishment, there was someone she knows whose kid could do it better. I don't downplay my kid's excitement for anything. This far I've grown up and don't have kids. Yup, and my husband and I plan not to have kids. So it's going great. On the other hand, my mother used to say, I pray you'll have a kid like you, so it makes you suffer like I did. I wish I had a kid like me, I would treat it so much better. Wow, damn, that's so harsh. Have a hug, my friend. I wish you the best and you have a heart in the right place. My husband and Amp, I swore we wouldn't repeat our parents' mistakes, and so far we haven't. We made completely new ones. Literally the goal in our household. We're not doling out corporal punishment or verbal abuse. We're not locking up food or uncaring about their own problems. But we are having issues with age-appropriate independence and separation anxiety. We've chosen therapy instead of ignoring it, so that's cool. Well, let's just say my I'll never be like my parents pledge has aged as well as a milk carton left out in the sun. Turns out, Because I said so is a legit reason, and 8 PM is indeed a fantastic bedtime. Who knew? I don't have kids, but I have still turned into my parents. Turns out they meant well. They wanted what was best for me and tried their hardest. All the stupid rules were there for good reason. 16-year me was a dumb fuck. Being an adult with responsibilities is fucking hard. I don't know how anyone does it with kids. And my parents were right. I should have never been in a hurry to grow up. Growing up, I always swore that I'd never get married and I'd never have kids. Many people told me that I'd change my mind. I've never married or had kids and I'm happy as can be. I do what I want, when I want, and it's nice. I have empathy for my parents' struggles, but I actually realized how abusive they were on another level when I had my own. Thankfully I don't beat my kids on a ritual basis, or at all. I don't scream and throw heavy objects at them. I don't punch them over and over again. I don't knock them out cold or beat them until they throw up. I don't scream that I wish they were dead and deserve to go to hell. So I think I'm doing pretty good compared to my parents. However, I have empathy for my parents. I can understand why their personality disorders and fundamentalist religion and backing from their churches to beat children would lead them down the path they chose. I wish my parents a peaceful and long life and good health, but I keep my distance. I love my kids and see them as future adults. My parents saw us as property that God gave them to keep out of hell by any means they saw fit. This was devastating to read, but I'm so glad you were able to come out the other side and set those boundaries. That can be an incredibly difficult thing to do. I am legitimately nothing like my parents and fucking proud. Well done. A little better. I can empathize a little with their frustration, but I'd rather still not act like they did. My kids seem like they like me. I stopped liking my mom at a very young age. Rather, I never had loving feelings toward her. I'm pushing into menopause territory and never had a kid, so mission accomplished.